have your Bibles, go ahead and pull them out real quick.
And turn to Mark chapter 2. We're going to be reading verses 13 to 17. I'll give you a second.
All right, Mark chapter 2, verse 13. It says, Jesus went out again beside the sea. The whole crowd was coming to him, and he was teaching them. Then passing by, he saw Levi, the son of Alphaeus, sitting at the tax office, and he said to him, "Follow me." And he got up and he followed him. While he was reclining at the table in Levi's house, many tax collectors and sinners were eating with Jesus and his disciples, for there were many who were following him. When the scribes, who were the Pharisees, saw that he was eating with sinners and tax collectors, they asked his disciples, "Why does he eat with tax collectors and sinners?" When Jesus heard this, he told them, "It is not those who are well who need a doctor, but those who are sick. I did not come to call the righteous, but sinners." The verse that I'm going to be focusing on mostly tonight is verse 16, where it says, when the scribes, who were Pharisees, saw that he was eating with sinners and tax collectors, they asked his disciples, "Why does he eat with tax collectors and sinners?" And before I dive into it, I have a quick question for all of you. Would you be willing to shave your head?
No.
Not only your head, but your eyebrows too. And not just like a quick buzz, like grab a razor blade, get some shaving cream, Mr. Clean, shiny bald head looking shaved head, and then continue with your daily life. Go to school, go to church, go to youth group.
For what?
Would you be willing to do it? If I asked you to.
Fun.
For you?
If I asked you to, would you be willing to do it?
For Ezra?
I would stay in my house for about 5 years.
So what's the hesitation there then with wanting to do it? You're gonna stand out. You sound like a sore thumb. So what if I rephrase it then? What if my wife Hannah was about to go through chemotherapy, and because of that she was about to lose all her hair, eyebrows included, and I came to you and I asked you if you would be willing to shave your head because she was feeling vulnerable, scared of feeling lonely and outcasted. If I came to you in that context and I asked you, would you be willing to shave your head? Would you be willing to reconsider it? See, the thing is, that's exactly what Jesus is doing in this passage. See, to give you a little more context, Jesus at the time was a rabbi. And what a rabbi was it was a teacher. Not just any teacher, they were the spiritual and religious teachers of the time. And in a culture that was founded on a religion, these rabbis were held in high regard by the culture. They were highly respected. And out of all these teachers, you have the Pharisees. Now, they were the teachers. They were the spiritual and religious teachers. They were what they called the guardians of tradition. They devoted their lives to studying the law and implementing it. And on top of this highly respected position that they held, they were also the politicians. They were the ones who were in the Sanhedrin, in the courts. They were casting their judgments. So they had these two extremely respected positions in society. And because of that, they had a lot of influence in the culture. But there was a problem. There was a problem with their heart. Over time, they became to the point where they were more in love with their position. They were more in love with the respect that they had, with the title that they held, with their position in society, than they were in love with the people that they were supposed to be teaching. And this caused them to create some unhealthy social norms, some unhealthy cultural norms. You see, you have the sinners and the tax collectors in this story. And the reason tax collectors are specified is because at the time, people saw them as traitors to their own people. They were the ones who were collecting the taxes for the Roman government, who at the time was oppressing the Jewish people. And so the Pharisees, in their selfishness, created this social and cultural, I'm blanking right now, norm, there we go, that a rabbi, a teacher, would never be associated with a sinner or tax collector. And so this social norm had been created where they would never be seen together. But Jesus was different. He said, "I came to serve and not to be served." He saw the people group in need. He saw a people group of sinners, of outcasts who had been told for so many years that they were unwanted, that they were unvalued, that they were unloved. And so what he did is he broke that social and cultural norm, and he went and he sat with them and he ate with them. He did not eat them. He did not eat them. He ate with them. And in doing that, he associated himself with them. And that's why it was so confusing to the Pharisees when they saw him eating with them, because he's this highly respected teacher and he's eating with these outcasts. So while we don't have exactly rabbis and tax collectors in our country, this concept is really, it's not far from us. See, cultural norms are everywhere. And they influence so much of what we do. They influence things like language. It's the reason that you guys laugh and think it's funny when me or Blake or any of the leaders describe something as bussin'. Or if we say riz. Or if I call my feet dogs or grippers. It's the reason you're all laughing right now. Because there's a social norm in there. As teenagers, it's normal for you to use teenage lingo. But if anyone outside of that uses it, we stick out a little bit. We're breaking that social norm. Social norms influence things like your behavior. It's the reason that if you go to talk to someone and you shake their hand and they come up to you and they stand like this close to you, and you can smell the coffee on their breath, and all you want to do is just like back up, just like give me like 3 feet, bro. It's the reason that we want a space bubble. See, there's cultures all over the world where if people stand to you this close, it's normal, and if you want space, you're the weird one. And I know it's because I've lived in places where I was the weird one who wanted 3 feet of space. See, we as a culture have decided that we need a space bubble. And if you don't abide by that cultural norm, you stand out. You're the guy who stands too close to people. Cultural norms influence so much, they influence the interactions we have. See, if I were to have a one-on-one conversation with any of you, say we're sitting just over there, during youth group, everyone's hanging out, and we have a 30-minute conversation. It's not weird. I'm a youth leader, you're students, that's a normal interaction. But what if I was a janitor at your school? Say you're sitting in class and you have this thought pop in your head. You have a question, a biblical question or a theological question, and man, you just need an answer for it right now. But you realize your phone got taken away from you this morning, and you don't have your Bible on you. What are you going to do? And you remember, well, Ezra's a janitor here. Maybe I'll ask him. Maybe he can give me an answer. Maybe he can at least point me in the right direction. So you come find me during your lunch break, and we go sit in the cafeteria around everyone. And we end up talking for 30 minutes. See, because of the relationship that we have, it's not weird. We have a 30-minute conversation about the Bible somewhere else. It's whatever. But in that context, we're breaking a certain social norm because in that context, you're a teenager eating lunch with the janitor. And your friends and your peers are going to be looking at you and be like, why are you eating lunch with the janitor? That's exactly what's going on in this passage. It's the same reason the Pharisees are struggling so much with the fact that Jesus is eating with the sinners. He's breaking this social and cultural norm of a rabbi with a sinner. And the thing is, we as Christians, we break social norms all the time. The thing is, the world tells us that we're supposed to live one way. And the Bible tells us we're supposed to live another way. And these things, they can't cohabitate. It's the reason that if you're hanging out with your friends and they all decide they want to go to a party and drink and do drugs, or they want to lie, steal, cheat, gossip, make fun of somebody, and you decide that I want to opt out of that activity, it's the reason they look at you weird. Because in that context, it's normal for those teenagers to be doing that, and if you decide, I want to live a different way, I want to do something else, you stand out for a second. People notice. The thing is, we as Christians understand something. We know that there's something higher that we're living to. We have the gift to understand that our social status isn't everything. What people think of us doesn't matter. We have an understanding of a higher purpose to live to, and Jesus lived this out in his lifetime. He didn't care that he had a respected title and that people would look at him and it would diminish his social standing by eating with the sinners. He saw the need. He saw outcasts, people who were unloved and uncared for, and he broke that social norm and he cared for them. So then I want to ask you, who are the social norms in your life? So who are the outcasts in your life? Who are the outcasts in your life? Think about youth group. Think about church. Think about school. There's almost always someone who's sitting by themselves. There's almost always someone in the corner by themselves. And day after day, week after week, month after month, they begin to feel more and more like the sinners did. They begin to feel more unvalued, unseen, unheard, unloved. And they get this cultural title of outcasts. And I know how they're feeling because I was them for so long. All throughout high school, I was them. I went to 5 different high schools in 2 different countries, neither of which of those countries I grew up in. I did not understand the social norms. I didn't understand the language I was supposed to be using, the behaviors I was supposed to have, the interactions I was supposed to be interacting. And because of that, I isolated. I didn't fit in. And because I spent so much time by myself, over time I was given this title of outcast. I was the kid during lunch who sat on the bench by himself, praying to God that lunch would be over soon so I could just go back to class where it wasn't so abundantly clear that I was an outcast. The thing was, I had been given this title of outcast. And because of that, there was a new social norm. I was an outcast. And if someone were to leave their friends, their group, and come talk to me, they'd be breaking this social norm. And their friends might be asking them, why are you talking to him? Why are you talking to him? Why does he eat with the sinners and the tax collectors? You see, there's a universal truth in this story. And it's that if you break social norms, then you're going to stick out. Do I stick out a little bit right now? Am I wearing the normal outfits people wear? And while you might be thinking, well, that's not too far of a stretch for Ezra to be wearing, but you know me. And if you didn't, if you saw me walking on the street, if you saw me at school, I'd stick out. You'd do a double glance, you'd notice I stick out. The thing is, you gave a reaction when I put this on. You kind of look at each other. You whisper to each other a little bit. And that reaction that I get when I'm sticking out is the same reaction that Jesus got when he stuck out. And it's the reaction that you're going to get if you decide that you want to stick out. Earlier, I asked you if you'd be willing to shave your head. There was a lot of back and forth, but there was a good amount of people who were like, no, I'm not doing it. But when I asked you to reconsider sticking out for a good reason, if you'd reconsider standing out to make someone feel loved, to make someone feel valued and accepted, to make them feel less like an outcast, so many of you are willing to reconsider. You're willing to reconsider sticking out for a good reason. And I'm telling you that loving somebody is a great reason to stand out. And so I want to leave you with just 2 questions. The first one is, what's stopping you from sticking out? What's stopping you? What are the social norms in place that you're afraid to break, and why are you afraid to break them? And the second question I have is one that I want you to ask yourself. Is, do I care more about how I'm seen than I do about those who feel unseen? When you're going back to school, when you're going to church, when you're going to youth group, I want you to notice the outcasts, people who are by themselves, who don't have anyone, who are feeling unloved and unseen. And I want you to ask yourself in that moment, do I care more about how I'm seen than I do about those who feel unseen? Let me pray. Father, I pray for these students, Lord. I pray for all of us, really, that we would have our eyes fixed on you, God. That we would care more about others than we would about how we look to others. Or that we would see the outcasts, we would see the need in people to feel loved and to know that we love them and that you love them and forgiveness is available, Lord, that they have a God who is merciful and cares about them. And that we would care more that they understood that than we do that some people might think we look weird. That we care more about them than standing out. Lord, I just ask that you bless and you keep us. You give us boldness and courage, Lord, to ask these questions and then to do something about it. Lord, thank you for your mercy and your grace and the example that you set for us. In your Son's name, Lord, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Man, can we give it up for Ezra? That was so good, so powerful, and something to take to heart. Right, for every single one of us sitting here, of that truth that Jesus goes and meets the lost. He goes and meets the person that does not look like everyone else. He meets the outcast. And so I pray you take to heart what Ezra, how God spoke through Ezra tonight, and you allow that to change you a little bit in how you react and treat others in your schools, in your houses, and even here. So glad you guys could join us again this Thursday. We have Theater Thursday. If you're interested in that, just come let me know. If not, thank you for being here. We love you guys. Please pick up your trash. If you see any trash, if it's not yours, please still pick it up and throw it away. And we will see you guys soon. Have a good night. Let's